investigations, alerts, breaking news.
Consequences of the California drought will tell you if water restrictions are on the horizon and what condition Kern County is in. And we've opened up our problem solvers line. Tax experts right there on hand to answer your questions and calls right now about this year's tax season. And a former Bakersfield athlete dead at the age of 21. More on the cause of death and the funds set up to help his family.
Broadcasting live in high definition. This is KBAK Eyewitness News at 6.
It's tax time, and thousands of you head to file your tax returns over the coming weeks and months. And you may have a question about what or how you should file.
And tax fraud schemes have led to several arrests over the last several years, prompting us to find out what you need to know to protect yourself. We've invited our problem solvers in to help. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Bailey is in the problem solver studio. Anthony, what's the latest?
Good evening, Kurt, and also Courtney out there. I'll tell you, the phones have been ringing here. I'm going to give you that number at the top of the hour, 869-2229. Any type of tax question you have about how to prepare your taxes, what forms you may need, or where you can file them and when they're due. They're answering all of your questions out there. Of course, the tax pros will be here through the end of the 6 o'clock show. So all the way to 6:30, we'll have the phones being able to be answered. Now, earlier today, we got out and talked to some folks about what you need to know to protect yourself before you file. Whether simple or complex, large income or small, we will all have to file our income tax.
You see them on the side of the street, you see them waving their little signs.
Connie Alicarn works for the Better Business Bureau. The group monitors companies that provide tax preparation services.
You want to always make sure that the person that you're going to deal with is actually licensed in that profession.
Using a licensed preparer has protections that others don't.
If something was done in error, they take full responsibility in correcting that error without charging you any additional money for that.
And although most tax preparation generally comes at a cost, programs like the VITA offer tax preparation services for free.
It stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program.
Spokesman David Lopez says that there are income limitations to qualify for the program. Staff that work the program are well trained.
All of the volunteers have already been trained. The material used for that training has been provided by the IRS.
And advances in technology are now making the process even easier to do on your own, with several companies offering a chance to file right from the comforts of your own home. All right, back out here live. We're going to take you to Facebook. During the last hour, we posted the question on our Facebook page, and we got some responses from you. So let's read this one coming in from Stacy Davis. Stacy's question is that, here's a question for you. I was asked today, a couple that's not together anymore has 2 children. Who gets to claim the children? The mother, whom the children reside with, or the father who made a little more money than the mom? And we're bringing in Fernando Chavez from Fernando Chavez Accounting and Tax Services. Fernando, I imagine that's a question you guys get quite frequently in your office.
That's a common problem that we get all the time.
And so how do they decide who's able to claim the 2 children?
Typically, the person that's going to claim the child is who they live with. It doesn't matter if the other spouse gives child support or not, because now, especially starting last year, they make us have you provide us proof that they live with you, whether it's medical records or school records or social records, and they have to have the address and their name. So.
And how about those cases where it's a 50-50 custody? Is it still the same rules?
It's still going to be the same rules, because the school records are going to go to only one house. And you know what? Another way to figure it out would be both of you mail in your tax return and let the IRS figure it out for you. That would be a good way to solve it.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Fernando. Fernando, one of our tax pros here. They will be here answering your questions throughout the rest of the show. We're live here in the Problem Solver studio. That number, one more time, 869-2229. Guys, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Anthony.
Well, the memorial fund for the late Ted Agu is well on its way of meeting its goal of raising $30,000 to help out his family. As we first reported Friday, 21-year-old Ted Agu collapsed during practice on the Cal Berkeley campus where he played football. Agu passed away after several attempts to revive him. Friends from Frontier High School came up with the idea to establish the Ted Agu Memorial Fund. The goal is to raise at least $30,000. Anyone wishing to donate can do so online at the Ted Agu Memorial Fund.
President Obama coming to Fresno this Friday to talk about California's ongoing drought and the federal government's efforts to tackle it. Last Wednesday, the House passed a bill that favored giving water to the Central Valley at the expense of the San Joaquin River Restoration Project. California Senator Dianne Feinstein is expected to introduce her own draft relief legislation soon.
And having the president come into the Central Valley, I think, speaks volumes for what we can do. We know what the need is. We know that there's a drought. We know there's a severe drought. We know that farmers are looking at fallowing land. We know that the ag industry itself provides $43 billion for the state of California. And we feed not only the country, but the entire world.
Valley Representative David Valadao released a statement saying, quote, "I stand ready to work with anyone, including the president, who is serious and willing to work to secure a reliable, clean water supply for the Central Valley."
And a pretty nice day today. Another day with a high temperature of 70 degrees. We've had a string of those since the first of the year. And we're going to have another string beginning, well, if not tomorrow, Wednesday and beyond. Right now it's 62 outside with generally fair skies. The humidity pretty high there. At 58%, we have good air quality and winds out to the north. At 10 miles per hour, 60s across the South Valley now, 40s in the Kern County Mountains, and 57 at Lake Isabella, 43 in the Bear Valley Springs area. And you can see temperatures generally 40s in the high country, 60s in the low country here in the valley, and 60s and 70s along the Central California coast to our south. And look for the dew points to remain fairly high, and the humidity is fairly high as well. So we could see some patchy fog first thing in the morning, and I think we're probably going to keep some clouds in the mountains with the winds out of the northwest kind of squeezing those clouds out with a little bit of a light sprinkle activity. It's not out of the question for the next couple of hours. Here in the valley, fair and mild, temperatures in the 60s this evening, and we'll drop down to about 47 degrees with some patchy, potentially locally dense fog, especially north and west of town. And mostly cloudy and breezy in the Kern County Mountains. Temperatures generally in the 40s. They're not getting all that cool. You'll be in the clouds tomorrow before a pretty nice day as we go through Tuesday and the rest of the week. The full forecast in just a few minutes. Kurt and Courtney, back to you.
Thank you, Miles. California's very serious drought is getting some very high-level attention, especially the impacts on farming. Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Carol Ferguson asks about current supplies that residents depend on at home. Carol?
Well, of course, many water districts and agencies get supplies to farmers, but others also provide waters to homes. So today, we checked in with some of them.
The water, the availability, it's there. We're not worried about it. We're taking the drought serious, and it is serious right now. As far as critical, it can go critical, and we don't want it to go critical.
Rudy Valles is district manager here for California Water Service. They get water from wells, and they usually get some from the Kern River and the State Water Project. But as we've told you, there is set to be zero allocation from that this year.
Yes, we do this year.
Oildale Mutual Water will also have enough, says General Manager Doug Nunley. In normal years, they would also use state project water.
Treatment plant supply is the state water project.
It would be treated here near the Kern Water Agency. This year, the plant will treat their banked water.
The banked water that has been banked over the years will be pumped out.
That water put into the system and sent on to homes.
The water banking is way out west of town.
In good years, extra water is allowed to soak underground and then pumped up during dry years.
We bank also in our 2,800 acres, along with others.
Both these agencies also have wells, and they'll depend more on those.
We're not requiring any kind of a mandatory reduction.
They're not asking residents to cut water use, but in Taft, the West Kern Water District's calling for a voluntary 15% reduction. They have enough supply, but worry about groundwater in future years. It's so dry now, the worry is, what's next?
Everybody needs to conserve.
Water companies say using less water at home is so important.
We all need to do it right now so it doesn't become critical. And we need to hope for more rain.
Now, these experts say Kern County is in better shape than other parts of the state with residential water because of that water banking. About 80% of the state's water gets used in farms, but experts say every gallon saved at home can help. Back to you.
Thank you, Carol. California now has more time to reduce prison overcrowding. A panel of federal judges made the decision today, giving the state until February 2016 to comply. The state has promised to come up with comprehensive reforms to its prison system. About 120,000 inmates are housed in conditions built for 80,000.
Well, new at 6, Cal State Bakersfield participating in its 4th annual Recycle Mania competition. Recycle Mania is a competition where colleges can promote waste reduction activities to their campus communities. Over an 8-week period, colleges across the country report the amount of recycling and trash collected each week, and they are ranked in categories based on who recycles the most.
It's a really good way for our students to know the difference between what they can and cannot recycle. It's just the campus way of educating our students that we can definitely make a difference.
CSUB has collected nearly 15,000 pounds of recycled goods, including e-waste, during the last 3 years of the competition.
A husband left helpless after his wife plummets to her death. How a base-jumping adventure turned tragic.
And a comedian and actor slams into a construction truck, what officers are now saying played a role in the crash.